Welcome to the Security Operative Podcast. This is Tony O'Brien of Security Operative Consultancy Services, here to share with you my perspectives from the world of security and risk management. Enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to episode number 26 of the Security Operative Consultancy Services Podcast. As we sit down for the end of the year and look back at the year that was 2020 in review. And where do you even start? I think it's definitely needed a cup of coffee for this one. Where do we start with 2020? It's been a good year and a bad year. Obviously, we can't mention 2020 without mentioning the C word, COVID. It's changed things for a significant amount of people, us included. It's had an impact on many businesses. So as I sit down towards the end of the year, it's today? It's the 29th. Hoping to have this out New Year's Eve. And kind of reflect on what 2020 has been, good points, bad points, how the business has gone, how the podcast has gone, some of my highlights from the year. So I suppose we'll start off with the business. I suppose business has been brilliant for us this year. We obviously had to change a lot in our business. We started off with a very large amount of event security consultancy and event consultancy booked in for the year, all of which was cancelled. And we managed to diversify into a lot more of our compliance-based business, our standards-based business, and our training-based business, all of which excelled this year. We were lucky in that we had done a lot of work on business continuity, and we'd moved most of our business paperless and virtual anyway. All of our client documents, etc., can be accessed by all of our clients online from anywhere and updated in real time. So we had that facility in place anywhere, which was a real positive for us. But massively successful year. Our business has been up 40% this year, despite all the setbacks and all the challenges that we faced. We've been able to help some really good clients. We've got some really good new clients. I just had a look there before we finished the other day, just before we finished up for Christmas. We've actually completed on 40 security consultancy projects and risk management projects for the year, almost one a week, which has been fantastic. And some of those have been long-term and some have been short-term projects. But we haven't had a week all year where we haven't been busy, which is good. Including my role with ICSE, we've trained over 1,000 people, both in Ireland and internationally. Our website had almost 40,000 viewers, so up 25% again this year in terms of people who viewed our articles. And these are unique IP addresses or unique viewers that have gone in. It's been up 25%. I think we're actually close to 100,000 total unique readers on the website since we launched 3 and a bit, almost 4 years ago now. For the year 2020, we produced 45 articles, produced 25 videos. So it's been a really busy year and a good year, and we found time, and we've fallen off a little bit, I suppose, in December because it's been hectic. We've been trying to finalize a good few security projects and supporting a good few clients coming up to Christmas. And I suppose we've changed a little bit this year. We've focused an awful lot more on our LinkedIn profile. We've built up the LinkedIn business. We've got a lot of work through LinkedIn internationally. And I suppose we've let Facebook go a little bit. Which is something we want to build back up this year, I suppose. I've had to change, I suppose, the manner in which I deal with Facebook a little bit. Up to, I suppose, August, I was dealing with everything, all the social media. And up to that point, I suppose, it got to the point where people were sending in questions, and I really enjoyed people sending questions and queries and stuff they want help with through Facebook. But it was getting to the stage where it was over 100 a month, and I had to get some people to help me out. And I had to start, I suppose, filtering some of the questions that I answered because some of them weren't actually questions. They were just people looking for an excuse to rant and rave about things. Some of them it wasn't my place to answer. So yeah, it's been a very successful year. We've done a lot, like I said, consultancy wise. We've set up some of the highlights we'll talk about in a while. We've set up a number of security companies or help companies set up. We've done a lot on standards development, and in terms of our own document base and what we do to help clients, we've standardized a whole lot of that. And we've even managed to engage on a freelance basis external risk advisors that have worked with us over the course of the year, which has been absolutely fantastic. I suppose for me, some of the highlights, I suppose, this year we've been able to support 4 new security companies in Ireland with setting up, which has been brilliant for me. I love that, setting up brand new security companies and getting people into the industry. I'm not quite sure how the regulator feels about that, but we've gotten 4 small-time providers set up through their PSA 31 audit. We've gotten 13 of our clients, security company clients, through PSA 28 audits, PSA 39 audits. And we've even got our first one through an ISO 18788 audit, which has been a highlight for us. We've set up 2 control room centres for clients of ours to the EN 50518 standard, so that's been brilliant. It's our first go at that with our first client. We did our test basis, and then we just got our second one through there coming up to Christmas. Different experiences with them all, and we'll talk about that in a different blog post, I suppose. We did our first international deliveries during the lockdown. We went into doing client webinars on things like business continuity, branding, securing your business during COVID compliance, risk management. And that kind of blossomed into doing some international webinars for international clients. And like I said, we've trained over 1,000 people this year, but we did one particular webinar for a client in the States that had 178 of their clients and their clients on it, which was a really good one. We partook in our first international project, risk management project, virtually, which was brilliant. One of the articles that we did there during the year was using virtual technology and using online technology to staff international projects. Which was a really big departure for us, but something that's been very, very successful. And we've now put in place, I suppose, the systems and processes to help us do that. And we've actually helped one of our clients and one of our competitors actually set up with virtual project management software that they can virtually manage and deploy staff online, which is another success of ours for the years, I suppose. And one of the things I really want to look back on, I suppose, for this year has been the success of others in the industry. There's been some really good people. And this year I've seen late 2019, early 2020, 2 people who used to work with me in a training role move on to bigger and better things in the industry. And I want to give a special mention to them. You know, one of the things I really like about this industry is to see the future coming through. And that's one thing that's really come across in the last year. Is new people in the industry making their mark on the industry. And 2 people I wanted to mention on this has been some of my highlights of 2020. 2 people I call friends, Justin Casey and Cuculla Morrissey, both Irish security professionals. Both have gone on to do fantastic things for themselves in 2020, and I'm really looking forward to see what they do with themselves in 2021. Because that's one of my highlights of the industry, is to see guys like that, new people coming into the industry. I know the guys in Conversations in Close Protection did a new practitioner series, and they interviewed some great people there, Jesse and Janina Linka and things like that, people like those. And it's really great to see. It really gives you hope for the future of the industry when you see people coming in and leaving other people in their wake as they come through and make their own future. So it's something I'm really looking forward to. And then the final highlight, I suppose, for me for this year has been the National Training Award. In my work with ICSE, with one of our clients, so I won't name on this, it's not my place to, we managed to win the National Training Award for the Best Consultancy Partnership in designing a conflict management program for a state body. This is now the 3rd time in 4 years that we've won that National Training Award, and it's really good recognition because those awards don't just pitch you against other providers in the security and risk management sector. You're in there against the elite of training and learning development organisations in Ireland, and we've managed to come out on top in 3 of the last 4 years, which is fantastic. I suppose to talk a little bit about the low points of this year. You can't go too much further than COVID, I suppose, and coronavirus. And while it has presented great opportunities for us as a business and for some of our clients as a business, there's no getting away from the absolutely catastrophic effect it has had on society, on lives. You know, the amount of people that have died worldwide, here in Ireland and worldwide, the amount of people that have had long-lasting impacts on their health, on their families, the amount of people who have lost livelihoods and businesses because of it. Closer to home, I suppose, the event sector, who I would have worked on lots and lots of friends working in events, in hospitality, nightclubs, bars, hotels, whose livelihood has just been decimated. And many of those are some of the most talented people in their roles that I've ever met, and they will quite possibly never come back to it. And I suppose 2021 will see a return to that later on in the year, I think. Based on all the forecasts and the predictions that I'm seeing, it will see a return to some events and some hospitality and areas like that will start to blossom and come back. But some of those people may not come back because of now the risk associated with the livelihood, and because they've moved on to other stuff, which is a more secure and safer income for them and their families. But I think we're not going to see it this year, but we are certainly going to see it in the coming years as these sectors really come back. Is going to be the knowledge loss and the talent loss that COVID-19 has resulted in. And it's one of those second and third order effects that we're going to see. Well, we're going to get events coming back, we're going to get hospitality come back. It's not until they get big again that we're going to see the actual talent loss that's gone out of those sectors. And I fear that it is going to be a very, very big risk for businesses in those sectors in the next number of years, particularly in places like hotels and nightclubs. There's significant talent loss in those. Another one of the downsides, I suppose, one of my personal experiences, I talked about this in episode 24, our website was hacked. only about 2 months ago, and that was obviously detrimental to the business, but for me personally, it was a huge drawback to think that, you know, I was exposed and I was vulnerable to something that, and it was something that was, one, outside of my control, and two, something that I didn't have a fantastic knowledge base on. And again, I'm grateful to my network and the people that have already thanked for that, in that we were able to get it on. But it was, you know, I won't say it was a shock to me, because we had contingencies in place for that. But it certainly was a low point for me to think that I fell foul to that. And, you know, from talking to others, I always think to myself, when you have a website with the name security in the name of the website, I think you're asking for trouble, and you better have all your ducks in a row. And as far as I'm aware, I did have all my ducks in a row. I fell foul to a WordPress issue that affected lots and lots of people. But nevertheless, it was a low point for me in the year, and it's something I'm glad that we're able to bounce back from with the help of others very, very quickly, I suppose. And then finally, I suppose, the last low point for me of the year has been, I suppose, the deterioration in the security industry, and particularly in the public arena. In terms of three things I'll talk about here. One is two things that kind of go together in terms of public arena: the Manchester Arena inquiry and the quarantine hotel inquiry in Australia, and how the manned guarding industry in particular has been savaged in both of those, in terms of things like the standards, the quality, the hiring, the recruitment, the practice. All things that we talked about in our blogs and our articles and our videos previously, but it really has shone a light on how far it's gone, and it has really, I think, been detrimental to the public image, if indeed it wasn't bad enough, of the man guarding industry worldwide, not just in Ireland. And I was talking to a security company in Ireland as this started to come out, and I took offence, I suppose, to how they reflected on that. They said to me, "Now look, Ireland is just as bad as everywhere else. We're not the worst in the world. Every other country is just as bad." And I thought, what a terrible way, or what a terrible outlook to look at things, is that because other countries are bad, it's okay for us to be bad, when that's not the case. You know, every country should be aspiring to have a professional man guarding industry, and unfortunately, that's not the way at the moment. And I think we're a long, long way away from it. I think we're stuck in the mire of being a security industry and not a security profession, and I'm not going to get into that now. And that has been, as companies have scrambled through this COVID-19 thing, we've seen companies like diversify into things like cleaning and you know, cleaning companies diversify into security, and construction companies diversify into security. And I think it's watered down the industry even more. And I think, again, long-term impact to that is not being looked at either by regulators or indeed by the industry itself. And there's most definitely now the race to the bottom in terms of pricing has definitely increased. So in terms of some of my, I suppose, moments of the year, book of the year, I unfortunately don't have it here because I bought 2 copies of it. I've read it and lent it out to people. But my book of the year so far, or for 2020, was Jeff Thompson's Notes from the Factory Floor. Jeff Thompson has long been an idol of mine, somebody who I've looked up to, and a mentor of mine, even though I've only met the man once, twice, and trained him once. But his complete autobiography, adding on from Watch My Back, his original autobiography, is Notes on a Factory Floor. And it's been fantastic to see, both read Jeff's book. It's a fantastic book, powerful book. It's an unbelievable book. You won't learn a lot about security, new stuff about security in it, but you will learn a lot about humans, about life, about perseverance and resilience. I'll come back to that word in a moment. And then it's been great to see Jeff back on the podcast circuit again, talking to people, you know, and getting his views. I think he's an absolute legend in the industry, and an absolute legend as regards mentoring and self-development and personal development as well. My podcast of the year, there's been some cracking ones there, and I need to give some honourable mentions in here before I go podcast of the year. I think Scott Taylor's interview with Joe Saunders was a fantastic one. I think my top ones have come from the guys in Conversations in Close Protection. I think the Janina Link one this year was a fantastic one, but my highlight obviously was the Conversation in Close Protection interview with George Taylor. I thought was the best podcast I've listened to this year. In fact, I've listened to it 3 times now, and I've taken probably about 5 to 6 pages of notes on some of the stuff that I've used. You know, so far has been absolutely fantastic. Article of the year, going back to early on in the year, was by somebody who I'm connected with on LinkedIn and who I've spoken to from time to time on LinkedIn, Dr. Richard Diston. His article, Security and the Search for Meaning, I think it has personal stuff in it, has professional stuff in it, but it really, really hit home on, you know, the professionalization of the security industry and where we go wrong with it, and the difference, you know, about the difference between developing yourself and developing yourself in the right direction and the wrong direction, developing the right way. And Richard is certainly somebody who I look up to and aspire to, and I thought it was fantastic to see that somebody, even at his level in the industry, still goes through these dark moments and difficult moments even with his knowledge base, is still constantly seeking to learn and learn in the right way. And I thought that was a fantastic one. My quote of the year, I came across halfway through the year. It's now our banner logo. I put it on our Facebook, on our LinkedIn, everything. It's an old Aristotle one. It says, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. And I'd heard it before, but it just hit me at the right time, I suppose, when I heard it again this year. And I put it up there because, it's not about doing a job excellently. It's about consistently doing the right things in the right way. And that's what sets you apart from competitors and peers. And it's something that I've wrote at the beginning of my journal. It's something I put in my business documents now. And it's something that I have highlighted across our website and some of our articles. I think it's a fantastic quote. It's my favorite quote of the year so far. So if we talk about 2021, that's enough of 2020 and the bad stuff. Obviously, I think 2021 is going to be a better year. Hopefully for everybody in the world and not just for us, but I personally and professionally am really, really excited for 2021. We have numerous projects, far more projects than we would have had last year, already booked in for 2021. And some of them are really, really exciting projects that I'm really, really looking forward to. And it's beginning to look like our business is going to be doubling itself again next year, which is a fantastic place to be in. We already have new projects booked in with existing and a brand new client for both January and February, and very little room for newer projects coming in January and February. And one of the highlights of those is that this year we're going to get to work on one of our first international projects with a client, which is going to be really, really exciting. It's a country that I've lived and worked in before. I don't want to say too much about the client, but it's a really, really exciting project, and it's a big departure for us in terms of consultancy, and it's looking like being a big, big year. Last year, I suppose I didn't mention one of the personal highlights for me last year was I completed my business degree, which is something that I set out to do a couple of years back. And that has now freed up time for me to focus on other stuff. And I was considering going on to a master's, but now I'm going to look and do some professional stuff first, professional qualifications first. And that will allow me the time to build on some of these new security projects. We've got big plans for the podcast. Obviously, I told you a couple of weeks ago that we're going to have some guests coming on. First guest interviews this week, and we've got 2 more lined up for the next couple of weeks, and they're going to be released in the middle of other podcast interviews as we go on. But our plan is to put out 50 episodes this year, 20 of those to have guests from them. And that's in addition to the 50 articles, or 45 to 50 articles that we put out every single year as well. We did some fantastic webinars this year as well. We did a reasonable force webinar, which had almost 100 people on it. We did a conflict management webinar, free webinar, which had, I think, 50 people on it. So our plan is to do a free webinar every single month through Eventbrite, and record those webinars, and they'll be released as part of the podcast as well. I like the webinar format. It can be difficult to record because obviously you want to get some interaction. So you want to do it as like a Zoom meeting rather than a webinar. Rather than just interacting through the chat, you want to get face-to-face questions and answers. But obviously then when you go to publish that, you have concerns about data protection and people's privacy and stuff like that. But that is the plan, to do 12 of those. And we've got some topics in already, from security risk assessment. Somebody asked us to do it on career development. Somebody has asked us to do one on security equipment, control room setup. They're all topics that people have asked. So we'll see what the interest is like on those, and we'll get them set up. We've got some great products coming for the website. As you know, our digital products, our assignment instructions packages up on the website, our safety statement packages up on the website. And we've got 2 brand new products coming in to launch on the website in the next couple of weeks. One is our onboarding package for security operatives for security companies. So how they can recruitment, selection, onboarding, forms, checklists, paperwork, all that. It's compliant with our Irish onboarding standards, and things like HR, the PSA standards, and the GDPR, the privacy standards and things like that. Everything you're going to need to get people on board. And then we also have our CCTV and control room compliance documents, which includes things like our control room policies, CCTV policies, data privacy policies, CCTV operating guidelines, control room operating guidelines, all of our paperworks and checklists and all the stuff that will get you set up. We're also planning for the middle of this year to do our company rebrand. We have a sister company which does a lot of our corporate stuff, so we're rebranding to that. It's called the Elite Risk Services, and we're going to rebrand to that gradually as we move through the year. So you'll see the logos changing and the names changing, and you'll see some things like that starting to happen. So that's our 2021. So for the last few minutes, I suppose I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has read, listened, watched, commented, criticised, rang, emailed, all that through the year. I think I've gotten back to everybody at this stage. I hope I haven't missed anybody. I want to say thank you. I want to wish you, your family, your colleagues, and your connections a very happy Christmas, a happy New Year, and I look forward to seeing you all in 2021. So until next week, that's all from me. This is Tony O'Brien signing off from the SOCS podcast. Thank you. Goodbye and good riddance to 2021 to 2020, and here's to 2021. Thank you for listening to the Security Operative podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show and got some value. If you'd like to follow more of our activity, you can find us on any of our social channels at Security Operative Consultancy Services. See you next time.